Welcome to Hidden Gate Tarot. Your 3 cards today form a very specific story, one that explains why a certain part of your life has felt heavy, restricted, or impossible to change, even when you want to change. So your cards are: the trap is the devil. The interface is the Hierophant. And the key is the Hermit. So we're going to start with the devil. So the devil shows up here as a trap you've been tied to, not because you're weak, but because a part of you learned to survive by staying attached to something that isn't good for you anymore. This trap often forms when you are younger, or at a time in your life when you needed stability, connection, or belonging, even if you had to sacrifice pieces of yourself to get it. So the devil can feel like staying loyal to someone who drained you, feeling guilty for wanting distance, trying to earn approval that never comes, turning to habits that numb instead of heal, feeling responsible for someone else's happiness, and losing yourself in someone else's needs. The trap isn't the person or habit. The trap is the emotional contract you didn't realize you signed, and the contract that says, if I stay, maybe this time it will feel different. But it doesn't. And the devil is showing you why. You're bonded to an old version of yourself, a version that believed connection required sacrifice. And the interface is the Hierophant. The Hierophant explains how this trap gets inside you through conditioning, rules, roles, and inherited expectations. This is the card of be good. Don't rock the boat. Do what's expected. Follow the rules. The Hierophant as interface means your trap was built in the structures around you. That's family dynamics, cultural values, relationship patterns, religious beliefs, or the roles you were assigned before you had any say. This might look like learning that your needs are too much, being praised for self-sacrifice, being shamed for wanting independence, being taught to tolerate things that hurt you, believing that loyalty means self-abandonment. The Hierophant is the voice that says, this is how you're supposed to be. And that's how the devil stays alive, not because you want the trap, but because you were trained to normalize it. Your trap runs through obedience, and your key will be the opposite. So let's look at the escape key, and that's the Hermit. The Hermit appears here as your escape key, not as isolation, not as retreat, but as the reclamation of your own inner voice. When the Hermit is the key, the message is precise. You were trapped because you were surrounded by too many voices that were not yours. Expectations, obligations, opinions, rules, traditions, agreements you never consciously made. The Hermit is not about running away. It's about stepping out of the environment where the trap made sense. So the Hermit says, you can't solve the pattern from inside the pattern. If you stay inside the same dynamics, with the same people, the same rules, the same pressures, and the same expectations, your nervous system keeps choosing the same reaction. Not because you're weak, but because that environment trained you. This might look like feeling guilty every time you say no, feeling obligated to explain yourself, feeling responsible for other people's emotional reactions, feeling like you can't step out of your assigned role, feeling watched, judged, or evaluated, feeling like you owe people more than you can give. And the truth is, you don't. You were just conditioned to believe you do. Here's the hermetic key, the real escape mechanism. The hermit's lantern represents clarity that is only available when you step outside the system that shaped the trap. This is the moment where you take a breath, away from the noise, away from the pressure, away from the expectations you've been carrying for years. And in that breath, you ask the questions that breaks the entire structure. What if this isn't mine? That single question, that single moment of stepping back, creates the gap where the trap collapses. So here are the mantras that break the trap. Say these to yourself. This expectation was never mine. I release the voices that were placed inside me. I walk out of the role I was trained to play. My energy returns to me now. My solitude is not loneliness, it is reclamation. I step out of the room where the trap was built. This is your key. Step back from the noise, from the roles, from the expectations, from the stories that were never yours. Step back from the weight you were trained to carry. Step back from the places where you learned to shrink. Step back until you can finally hear your own breath again. And now, breathe. Breathe like someone who is no longer performing. Breathe like someone who is no longer supervised by anyone else's expectations. Breathe like someone whose choices are finally their own. With this breath, the grip loosens. With this breath, the pattern cracks. And then you see it. The door is unlocked. The whole time, and you are already on the other side. Stay in your breath. Let it belong entirely to you. One breath, fully owned, collapses 1,000 old patterns.